Hey! Oh wait, there's no card.
See, that's why we do a little bit of chit chat up top. Also, gang, welcome to Danny M for joining us. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you see us? Can you hear us? Can you see us? Can you hear us? There we are. Let us know. Picked a good shirt today. It's a white shirt, but it's got little flecks on it, so if I make little spills, little whoopsies, like I did my fucking pants, I spilled like toothpaste all the way down it. Why does everyone think, is that what I think it is? Why would it be? Why would any adult would walk around like that in their mess?
Because they don't know.
Why would they do it first in their clothes and then be like, and don't wash my hands. I'm back.
Are we back? Audio back. Audio back. I'll wipe the card later.
Give a good wipe down. You excited? I'm excited to talk about comics. We have a bunch to go through.
We have a lot.
I'm just going to rattle off a bunch of the fun ones, but most importantly, we're going to be talking about digging the stash. Thank you, Super Mac. I thought my glasses were on my face. I just got contacts for the first time in like 3 months, so it's weird. But yes, we're going to be reviewing the newest comics of the week and the past couple weeks, and big one. We're going to be talking about Daredevil by Mark Waid. If you're part of the Discord, Comic Book Club, where if you guys have your opinions, let us know in the chat. I will be reading your reviews from the Discord.
Cool.
So that'll be fun.
Ready to do it?
Let's do it.
3, 2.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Welcome, boys, girls, and everyone.
Boys and goyles.
Goyles. To Let's Talk Comics. Hopefully they didn't blow out your speakers too hard, because we're about to blow your freaking minds with the newest comic books. DJ?
Yes.
You get any good ones?
Yeah, it was a good week. I didn't have a chance to read a lot. It's been kind of a transition back into the groove of things.
Mm-hmm. Were you reading over the break?
No, actually,
I didn't read a goddamn thing.
I was reading. I got for my birthday. I got the collection of Stray Bullets, the original run. So I've been rereading. I've been reading that. Mm-hmm. So no, I didn't. I haven't stopped at the comic shop. This was my first time in like 3 weeks. And I got a bunch of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm catching up to that. But this was a good week for me. I read Young Justice, Green Lantern, and Criminal, which is a new comic from Image.
Nice. For this week, I read a bunch of big ones, but we'll talk about Young Justice.
Yes.
And we'll also talk about Daredevil by Mark Waid, a little intro for the live stream
that
people.
I do have.
But for the audio listeners on the Discord, if you join the Comic Book Club, which moist little ear Danny Boy put together for us, I suggested that we read Daredevil by Mark Waid. DJ's recommended it highly.
Yes.
And I read it. So actually, should we open with that? Should we kind of close with a little review of Daredevil?
You want to open with it?
Yeah, let's open with it. Okay, so
I also read the most recent issue of Heroes in Crisis.
We can talk about that.
Which I continue to have mixed feelings about. Anyway,
I think it's starting to get its groove of what it wants to be.
I agree, but I still have concerns.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But so kicking off, Daredevil by Mark Waid, and who's the artist on that one?
This is it's Paolo. I think it's Paulo Rivera and Marcos Martin, who are both, Paulo Rivera and Marcos Martin, who are two of the best working artists in the industry. Also, just I picked this up before I came in. I've had this for a while. If you're not watching live, you can't see.
Neither can he.
But
boom.
It's exactly. This is one of my favorite Daredevil images ever, and it's a good example of what makes a comic work. Because for those that are just listening, it's the cover to the collection of Daredevil by Mark Waid, Volume 1, and it's Daredevil swinging through the city. It's his red costume, and everything else is primarily white, and all the things outside of Daredevil are illustrated using words, as if the way Daredevil would perceive reality in comic form. And it's just so good, and that attention to detail. When he fights the Spot, oh my god,
what a nightmare.
So good.
Okay, so when did this come out for listeners?
Great question.
I think 2012 is a rough estimate of when it came out.
Get those more. 2015.
Wow, it's way newer than I thought. Yeah.
This is the third printing of this volume?
Wow, it's really popular. Yeah. But if you guys would like, you could join Comixology Unlimited. We should get a deal with them. They don't do that, but that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be great.
But that is it's kind of like your local library. It's like a borrowing service, kind of like Netflix for comic books that you can get through Comixology's website, and you can download to any of your devices. And they currently have their originals. They have like Image, they have Dark Horse, they've got all the indie comic publishers, but now they have DC. They just got DC, and they have Marvel, so you can get the first 2 volumes of Daredevil by Mark Waid, which I was able to read it over the break, and he suggested it a lot, and because you're a big fan, and also I like Daredevil, and I've been liking Charles Soule's run, but
that's more of a traditional Daredevil. Is kind of cranky and
he's a little cranky, but it's it's more of like a mystery. So that's the part that's kind of like pulpy mystery with like you got like a dash of comics, but he's still kind of like they always kind of throw in it's like him versus serial killers, which is pretty fun. But in this
is a throwback to classic 60s swashbuckling Daredevil.
Oh, that's 100. That's a great way to describe it because that's what he is. He's and the way that Mark Waid figures out how to make Daredevil's world work the best, like one of the best. When it's a small little detail, how does he get clothes to where he needs to go when he gets home? Like if he has to change now, he ships himself, he mails himself clothes to like his office or whatever so that he can change before someone comes in, or he's wearing it all the time. That's a great one. How he perceives things is crazy, and especially in this, the art. This is my favorite interpretation of the radar vision. Especially with the spot because the spot's like missing pieces because they're like little dimensions.
Exactly. These little portals. Also, like, hey, did you want to see Daredevil versus Claw? You're like, no. Why? Well, Claw's made up of literal sound, so it's actually super interesting.
Oh yeah, the little sound copies that are like whisperings. And like they mimic any sounds they hear. Very creepy. But overall it's just you've told me the pitch of like this leads to the Omega Sanction,
it's Omega Effect, the Omega Effect. So they this would have been a great plot line for a Defenders season 2, which is definitely not ever going to happen. But there's and I like this too. It's a Fantastic Four logo, but all the Fantastic Four logos are made of
unstable
molecules. So it's like an infinity drive. You can just put everything on it, and every piece of criminal information about AIM and Hydra and the Hand and Black Spectre, which was part of Greg Rucka's Punisher run at the time,
and then the Secret Empire, which I didn't know.
They're all on there, so they're all after it. And Daredevil decides to keep it for himself, which then leads to the crossover of Spider-Man, Punisher, and Daredevil. And Mark Waid's the way he writes Spider-Man in these issues is one of my favorite interpretations of Spider-Man.
Also a pitch. If you guys did not pick it up, I'm going to be reading your reviews of this in just a second from the Discord. But one of the best parts of this book is it's during a time when Daredevil's been outed as Matt Murdock. They air quote prove that they're different people, but no one's like buying it. And so he's doing so much like effort of everyone's like, so what's it like being Daredevil? He's like, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. He even wears like that holiday sweater that says I'm not Daredevil.
Exactly. Like, it's just a fun, cheeky way of like everybody knows, but he's still trying to play it like they don't. It's a cool situation.
It's so weird because I've never read a fictional character that like basically where like you have a spouse who might know or best friend that knows that's trying to get it out of him, but the world knows. Or some of them believe, some of them are like, I don't care. And it's a good, he does a good way of divvying that up. And also I like, it's a very kinetic book, like when he's using his billy clubs, but also he's like makeshift walking stick that can turn into like grappling hooks and other stuff like that. It's not too Batman-y where it's like, where did he get this weapon? He's like, oh, he invented it in a second, or Alfred made it. It's like, no, it's just like, it feels practical, and I really dig it. Also, he's swashbuckling's a great way, but he's an asshole, but he's not like, he's the one that like, I'll grab a beer with you. You know, you're a cool guy. In volume 2, no spoilers, but it's basically he's had the drive so far, and there's a meeting between all of the heads of the people who are trying to get it because they all kind of have to work together so they can keep all of their information safe.
It's like a mutually assured destruction situation.
It's this whole encounter where Daredevil basically outs one of them for being a traitor, and he's like, "What are you guys? You're just talking. Oh, sweet God, stop talking!" And it's like it's such a good scene. And no, I think it's my favorite interpretation of Daredevil that I've read. I read Frank Miller's, like, you know, iconic.
It's good. It's classic. Brian Bendis' run is good, and actually I highly recommend if you have Comixology Unlimited. I think the first volume of Bendis' run on there is also really good. But traditionally with Daredevil, it's all like dark and sad and just punishing Daredevil for being Daredevil. And so it's good to. This book isn't necessarily light. Dark things happen, but Matt Murdock's trying on, hey, what if I had a positive attitude for once in my life? And so it's cool. Also, there's a showdown between Cap and Daredevil, which I 100% want to see in a movie, and I probably never will. But it's great. And also thinking about the ways of how you would disrupt Daredevil's powers, whatever. I wish the shows paid that much attention to how his abilities work and how you can manipulate that visually. But whatever. definitely, if you have Comixology Unlimited, check it out. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you should check it. I think Comixology Unlimited is worth the price of it. I'm trying to find really quick that we're talking about Daredevil. I had the review. Oh, I'm in the wrong chat. I'm in the general chat. I'm not in the comic book club chat.
Oh, snap.
Gang, if you're not part of that Discord, ooh boy, you're missing out.
Yeah, Danny M says the spot looks gross.
He
also great use of what, a Z-lister.
Yeah,
like the spot was
he's more
on,
popular now.
Okay,
he's
was
more
on
popular now.
An episode of the Spider-Man cartoon when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Rabbi here says the only Daredevil exposure I've had is the movie and the TV show, so I wasn't expecting to laugh while reading the book. I really enjoyed the character, and I definitely will be picking up other volumes. Nice.
Yeah.
Yorkie writes, I have only managed to get 3/4 of the way. This is December 30th in their writing of the way through, but I'm enjoying it. I didn't quite like the first issue, but I couldn't tell you why. But as soon as I continued onwards, I started to vibe with it a lot more, to the point where it's going on my backlog list with Spectacular Spider-Man. And one more, Super Mac writes, who's joining us live, thank you. I just finished it and liked it. Watching the show Daredevil, I wanted to see how his lawyering connected with his crime fighting, and I like where it's going to continue on with the other volumes. I also like the joke of how Matt has the flimsiest alter ego since everyone knows he's Daredevil. I haven't read any other Daredevil stuff. What is the big storyline of how his identity came out?
So that's part of Brian Bendis' run. It was... I actually read that. It's actually really cool. Brian Bendis is it's one of those, like, you hear like, oh, it's amazing, and you go back like, oh shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Kingpin, I believe, is the one that outs him, and it culminates in him end up going to prison. He goes to prison. It's Devil in Cell Block D, which I don't know. I think Brian Bendis set that up, and then Ed Brubaker or Matt Fraction picked up from there. But it's all kind of a continuation of that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Iron Fist wore the costume for a little bit to throw people off the scent.
Mm-hmm. Charles Soule, like by his start, no one knows that he's Daredevil again.
Did he make a deal with Mephisto? What was
no. Yeah, classic. No, it was actually when he, at a point when he was living in San Francisco. It doesn't matter. I'll just explain it really quick. Basically, it was a Purple Man encounter, but the way he was led into it is that there are purple children, basically.
Okay.
Super dark for a second. Basically, all the women that he has used his power to have sex with them, rape them, basically, they had babies and they all look purple, and they are these purple children that they have the same abilities, but they work better when they're all together. Classic. And so Purple Man basically captures them and tries to use them so he can affect an entire city. He's trying to see like how far his like reach can go. They end up like making Purple Man catatonic because the kids turn on him, which is a cool moment. But as a thank you, they're like, let's do something for him, and they read his mind or something like that. I'm not sure. But basically, they make the whole world with a special machine forget. And when Daredevil in his costume is back in New York, he goes to talk to Foggy, and Foggy's like, I don't know who you are. So when he takes off the mask, all of a sudden he's like, he got all the memories back, and he's like, oh wait, I'm kind of really pissed at you right now, like because he didn't have a problem with Matt, he didn't have a problem with Daredevil, but as soon as he figured out that they were together, he remembered all the bullshit that Matt's put him through, and he was like, yeah, I don't know what you did for this, but he was like, I need a second. Like it was nice to see that like Foggy eventually gets on board again. It's good, but I like that he kind of had to earn it, and you see like, you know what, he feels manipulated and he didn't like it, even though Matt's like, it's not my fault. He's like, I just need a second.
Yeah, makes sense.
I appreciate people being human in the comics. But that's enough of that. Let's go into the newest comics of the week. Yes. And that was the big one from Marvel for me. And I know you, from Marvel, it's a lighter week for you.
Yeah, I didn't pick up anything. You picked up Captain Marvel #1.
Yes.
Did you read it?
Kelly Thompson. Yeah, I read it, and it was delightful.
Cool.
And I think it's if you want to jump, it's a jumping on point. Like they did the life of Captain Marvel recently, and boy, howdy, that was that one right in the trash. It was not really good. This one though is delightful.
Good.
And that was a good one for me. I picked it up. Thor #9, leading to the War of the Realms.
Okay.
Man, Thor's good. And they're talking about the Rosalind, this woman who dated Thor, who was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Yeah, exactly.
No.
I didn't know who this was. But they make her a badass. And they're also building out that with the Avengers comic, there's now no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's Agents of Wakanda. And you're seeing that team being built out in Avengers, in the newest issue, which I read. And I really dug that as well.
Nice.
I'm not going to pick up Justice League anymore, but I think they got me with Avengers. I
think
it's not.
They finally got their hooks in.
I think it's not like a slam dunk, but it is a really big blockbuster, and I enjoy it.
I'm going to be honest, I have a little more faith in Jason Aaron than Scott Snyder at this point.
Yeah.
By the way,
both are good,
so
though.
much. Check out Scalped. It was just Jason Aaron's big indie book that kind of got him. It's a Vertigo book.
Nice.
Yeah, I read the first volume of that. I recommend it.
Last two I will mention is Ghost Spider. They're kind of, there's this idea that like she basically Gwen cannot do is the only person who can do like the dimension hopping now.
Yeah.
Like they can't keep doing those. They're like, we want to kind of narrow that down. And so she's like, I kind of want to do adventures and like do this, but like, but in this issue, she's going to like Spider-Man Noir's Earth and telling their family that who he was and that he died and he was a hero, and going to like the Captain Britain Spider-Man's Earth and like telling him that, and she's like, this is awful. Yeah. The only reason these people know anything about what happened to who they loved is because I can do this, and like, what happened if I died? Who tells my family? And I was like, well, that's actually, it's like, and she's like, is it selfish for me to stay at home? Like, and they're like, no.
Of course it is.
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, they say yes, but it's okay because you still have a responsibility to your family and to that Earth. You can be that person. And so I like that conversation. And Miles Morales was really good as well. Wanted to mention that. It's a good comic. Pick it up. But also I'm seeing in the comments, Danny M, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #1 from Tom Taylor, my boy. It's so, there's so many Spider-Man comics out. I get it. Yeah. This is
sounds like he's got a movie out or something.
I know, right? Yeah. But no, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is such a good like small story, and I love Tom Taylor's. He built out a world that's just this little corner in New York. It's not like all New York. It's not Queens. It's not Brooklyn. It's just this corner, and it's how Peter is going to help his neighbors, and I love it. I really enjoy it. So good reads from Marvel this week. You want to move right into DC?
Yeah, real quick, let's touch on indie.
Yeah, I haven't picked up anything.
So this week sees the new relaunch of Criminal. For those that don't know, that's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They've been doing for, I want to say since the early 2000s, maybe earlier, they've been doing a comic called Criminal, and it is technically an anthology book. And so they just jump around these characters' lives, and this is a new ongoing series set in that world. The first issue is great. If you love crime comics, highly recommend it. It's a little bit more grounded and gritty, I would say, than something like Stray Bullets, which is another crime comic I really enjoy. And if you're even though it is kind of anthological, it's designed that you can just jump in on each story. In the back, Ed Brubaker goes through all the different volumes and what kind of they've covered so far to give you context for where the story is happening, even though you don't need it. Because I've read one of the volumes previously, and I didn't know 2 volumes have come out since then. And I was able to read it no problem. It was nice to get the connective tissue. Also, something really cool they do with Criminal in all their books, their collaborations. They've worked on stuff like Incognito, I believe that was that team, The Fade Out, a bunch of stuff. There's essays in the back from different scholars of crime fiction.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of describing, like, the essay in the back of this one is about the Coen brothers' first movie, Blood Simple, which is a noir. So that's another cool selling point. Highly recommend it. Really good comic. And if you just want to shake it up from the typical superhero stuff, I couldn't recommend something better.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into DC because we got some reviews from the people in the Discord, which I would like to read. But the big one that you want to do the big one from the week that we read?
Real quick before we dive into the big one, because I think I would just like to say the favorite. To be fair, I haven't read Murder Falcon yet, and that always takes the top slot for me. But Green Lantern, what a blast!
Gotcha. Okay, I remember what our big one is.
Yeah.
But Green Lantern, it's Hal Jordan versus God.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it's Magic God. Like, it's full, like, Magic God, wish fulfillment, everything.
And before you even get to that, you get black market dealers selling Earth.
Yeah.
And I love the pitch. Like, you can make them slaves. You could murder all of them if you want. And it's like, this is like, in this crazy reality where something like this could happen, this is how it would happen.
Yeah. It's amazing. But it's, someone buys Earth.
Yeah.
It looks just like how most Western culture pictures the god.
Yeah, they throw out Zeus, but it's really like they call him the shepherd. And do we want to spoil it? It's just
why not?
It ends up being some like extra dimensional Cthulhu. He's trying to fatten up Earth to eat it.
Yeah.
And the funniest joke, and it's also the joke that hurts the most because it feels too honest, is Hal Jordan. The shepherd's like, hey, they're down with it. Earth wants to be Bob. I mean, they're happy now. Apparently, they've got superpowers and shit. Because of this guy. And so Hal Jordan's like, no, I'll convince him. And he communicates with Earth. And he's like, hey, you're not down with this, right? And they're like, I don't know. We have powers. And he's like, yeah, he's fattening you up. Like, your great grandkids are going to be eaten. And I'm like, yeah, but it's cool now. Great. Yeah.
Depressing.
Depressing, but great.
And they do try to kind of explain it away, I think, in one line, but it was a little confusing.
Yeah.
But no, amazing, amazing book. But also one wonderful book from Wonder Comics. It's the first book in this new line from DC.
Yeah.
Well, they're just cranking out all these lines, huh? Let's talk about Young Justice #1. And I don't think anyone's gonna get confused about this, but a fun distinction on the DC Universe app. There's an exclusive comic there for the Young Justice TV show as a bridge comic between season 2 and season 3.
Very cool.
So if you want to read that, we're talking about the DC.
Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah.
And it's the artist is Pat Gleason, right?
I love Pat Gleason.
Yeah, he's so good. Oh, and there's also a little. I'm assuming you got it digitally, correct?
Yeah.
Was there a little like interview with him and his thoughts on how on redesigning the characters and everything?
Let's see. I don't know. I'll be honest.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah. You get those. I never read the end of those interviews. But no, this comic was unbelievably delightful. Who is our team? We've got Tim Drake, Robin. You've got Impulse, Bart Allen. You've got Connor Kent, Superboy. You also have Amethyst.
Yeah.
Oh, Cassie Sandsmark, Wonder Girl.
Wonder Girl.
Amethyst is like that's kind of the crux of this first story.
Yeah, we barely see her, but like her people. Jim.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Also great great use of continuity. Like there's been all these crises happen on Earth. There's been, what, 7 or 8?
7.
Yeah, 7 of them, and they affect the rest of the reality. And I'm like, you know what, that does kind of suck.
Yeah, they're like, just can they fucking stop for a second? And it's like, hey, you know what, I'd be pissed. But it's just so joyful. Like, it's so sincere. And the person who gets, like, literally the least amount of screen time, I know Amethyst gets less, but we get a lot about her world. Yeah. So I feel like she gets more of a footprint.
We get a little bit of Jenny Hex, but I think the one you're mentioning
is Teen Lantern,
which weirdly is my favorite.
Yeah,
she's like there. We don't even really see her. Yeah, just one of her constructs, and I'm like, I'm on board. Yeah, I'm on board. I don't know who this person is.
I might need to change my name. I'm like, yeah, long term, maybe not Teen Lantern, but it's a great name right now. I'm not upset about it.
I don't love the fact that there are so many human Green Lanterns. Mm-hmm. I'm down. I'm immediately down with Teen Lantern. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts for someone who read all of the garbage Teen Titans comics, and I stuck through it. Yeah. Where they took Cassie's character and stuff. I'm just like, wow, it's like you really hate all these people. Like you truly dislike all these characters. And in this, it was like she's reserved, but I think it almost felt like the writer Brian being like, yeah, she kind of went through some shit, so she's like traumatized right now. Like her character didn't. Like we find out she's like a daughter of Zeus or granddaughter of Zeus or some.
In the originally before New 52, she was a daughter of Ares, which would make her a granddaughter of Zeus.
Yeah. I think what we ended with is that she's like a direct granddaughter of Zeus. Yeah. I don't know what Papa is. Oh, we do meet the dad, but I think he's just kind of like a dude. Honestly, if he wanted to change all that, I wouldn't mind. Yeah. I wouldn't mind if we just kind of got a fresh start. Amethyst, though, the Gem Worlds, do you know more about that? I've read one comic that they were in. It was in the Vibe comic in the New 52. Yeah. He's vibing around. All of a sudden, he falls into a Gem World, and then we get out of there really fast. Gem World
was basically, from what I understand, specifically targeted toward girls and was more of a fantasy thing, less of a superhero thing. Something I do like, going back to Cassie Sandsmark real quick, she's my favorite Wonder Girl. Also, comparing her to New 52 and Scott Lobdell's run, love that she looks like a girl and not like a porn star. Like the way she was depicted in the New 52 run was like, wow. Yeah. That's supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah, 13, 14.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah, and these look like kids. Impulse looks like a kid, and there's a lot of like fourth wall breaking shit happening. I'm not really sure.
I didn't know that how much I missed Impulse. I could have told you how much I missed Tim Drake. Connor Kent he comes back pretty briefly, but he looks cool. I didn't miss his old 90s look, but this is a cool revamp of it. Way on board.
Oh, by the way, do you follow Brian Michael Bendis on Instagram?
I do.
Did you see the little tease of like, maybe this is where this Superboy was?
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Okay, then
I do know in the interview in the back, he said he put some Mad Max influence into his stuff, so I figure that factors into it. But like, I was excited about this, having read it. Super on board. Yeah, super on board. Made me really happy. Can't wait for more. I didn't need Jenny Hex. Super happy she's here now.
And the back issue for Naomi looks really interesting too. I have no idea what that's going to be, but it seems very sincere to Brian Michael Bendis. So let's see what that looks like. Also, he has another writer on it, so that probably take over for him after.
Yeah, it looks like he's shepherding a lot of like co-writing with some people, and then they'll take it from there.
Gotcha. I'll give it 10 out of 10. Like I really enjoy it, and also so did our people on our Discord. Also live, Supermac, who's in the Discord, is watching with us. Impulse was my fave of it all, and Danny M agrees with that. Amethyst had her own comic in the New 52, but it did not last. That's not surprising.
Right, yeah.
Danny M says best Robin.
I'm a big Tim Drake fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I came up with Tim Drake. I like Damien a lot, where he went, but like, yeah, I will always be a Tim fan, and I'm glad that they have this little pocket.
Boochtron, I believe is full Christian name. Young Justice #1. It's a great first issue. It's so bright and a blast to read. A little confused how continuity will work.
Agreed, because they imply that Young Justice was a thing, which it was not in New 52. So it's one of those rebirth, like, wait, what?
It's like Superman Reborn, where it's like, no, everything happened. It's like, what? They couldn't. I don't think it could have, but who cares? Super Mac, you wrote in the chat that you dug it, and we have Echo Spider, Green Lantern was fun, and Young Justice was cool. I really like a lot of the characters on the team, and I appreciate seeing them back on the pages. Also, my favorite Robin is in the book, so ++, A++.
Real quick before we wrap up,
and I've got a couple DC books I want to read about.
Oh, go for it.
Okay, really quick. Sorry, I'm pulling it up. Be patient with me. I started reading Sandman again because I read the first volume and I liked it.
Original Neil Gaiman Sandman. Yeah.
And I liked it, and my girlfriend's really into Neil Gaiman, whatever. But right now, and so I was like, you know what, I should finish it. I liked it. Why not? And it's not that long. It's long, but it's not that long. So I'll give it a shot. But I read Batman 62, which I saw someone in the chat talking about.
With Professor Pig. I almost wanted to pick it up just because Professor Pig. He's one of my favorite Bat villains.
So there was like an annual in the middle that kind of like stopped the story. But the last tease we had was Penguin being protected by Batman in the Batcave, handcuffed, blindfolded, and being like, Alfred would bring him food and everything. But Penguin kind of had like lost his like lady friend or whatever, and so he's grieving, and it's like this really sweet like character moment for Penguin. But something happens to the Batcave. Alfred's ambushed, and when they come back in the dark, Batman's like, what happened? And he says, your father. And in the background you see Flashpoint Batman. Not a clue. So this picks up, and the whole issue is like, how did I get here? There's always this like thing, and basically it's Batman narrating how do you get out of here and how do you use like the Batarang to like unhook this and like fight him, and he's like, why can't I hear him talking? But then he'd go back to like, this is how you try to get out. He's like just trying to figure out his way to survive. But in the background there'd be like these little like whispers of like, wait, how am I here? Like, why can't I hear what he's saying? Like, why did like he get stabbed at one point? He's like, that shouldn't have happened. But like he can't stop to think about it because Professor Pig keeps coming at him and he's yelling something, but you can't hear what it is. And it's this great like, what the fuck is happening? And it's Mitch Gerard's. Well, I figured out we were saying Gerard's, even though that's a fun way to say it. That is not what his last name is. So that was a good one. For other DC books, I didn't actually read too much DC. Deathstroke Arkham, they introduced their own version of Deathstroke for this story specifically. And he's like this, I think he's Duncan somebody. He was at Arkham Asylum, but he's wearing like an off-brand like Deathstroke outfit with like goggles to like, so he has like a more unique face. But he has kind of fourth wall breaking stuff where he made a jab at Deathstroke being like he said Manganiello, like he made like he mentioned that for a second. I was like, wow, this is super weird. Super Sons was a great one, and The Dreaming, because I'm reading that still. It's really digging into like, because right now The Dreaming's it's bad. It's really bad. And there's someone else running it where, it's this guy named Judge Gallows. And he is this like kind of like...
You were telling me about this,
For people who missed that part, it's basically this character who... he became like this idea that people in the Old West had as like this like street justice, like just lynching. That mentality given as a person that's
frontier justice, if you've seen Hateful Eight.
That's what it is. It is that as a person. And it's that nightmare you have thinking that you might be next. That's who's running all of Dreams right now. And at a point the Dream is kind of coming apart, and you see in the art of this issue, he's standing kind of in the basement of like the main castle in The Dreaming, and you have like these green light spires coming up next to him, and you're like, most of the time I don't know what's happening until like you get a second to like think about it, and you can't tell what he's like standing around right now. And at one point they're like talking about how the lucid dreamers are the kind of like the wild cards. They're really hard to control because they have a stake in the dreaming now, and it's like, we can't have that because they can do whatever they want, and we need them to go back to just their normal dreams. You walk in and you find out that the judge is like, nope, you guys wanted stability. That's the reason why he's here, because he can make decisions that other people are too scared of. Like I can understand that.
Yeah, that's how fascist leaders get involved.
That's the whole point. And so at a point our like side heroes like try to get in there to stop him, and you see that he has hung, lynched, hanged. That's what it is, not hung. He's hanged the lucid dreamers and kept them in a state of, they're catatonic in our world the way I interpreted it. And they're lynched upside down, so they're like being held in the dreaming, but they have bags over their heads like he would have done. It's a nightmare. And their character they introduced, Dora, is such the art in this. Bill Quist Everly is so talented. So
He's really gifted.
that's why I have to read Sandman now, because now as I'm reading volume 2 of Sandman, I'm starting to see a lot of characters. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, you get a
Even
better sense
though
of it.
I will say, The Dreaming you can read without Sandman, I think you can get enough of a sense of where everything's at.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I really
Same
dig
with
it.
Criminal. You don't need to go back to the back stuff, but it doesn't hurt. It's
There
just
you go.
adds, you know. Real quick. So I believe this was last week, but I did want your thoughts on Heroes in Crisis number 4.
4.
This goes back to the art team of 1 and 2, right?
Clayman and Tom King, I think so. I think so.
Because I knew the issue 3 was supposed to be part of a 2-parter, but I don't think this continues that.
Lee Weeks, right? I think he did that one. Yeah, I believe you're right on that. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed rough with this story. I think I got a better sense of what's happening right now, and it has a lot of fan moments where it's like you get Blue and Gold back together.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
Okay,
that is a fan moment, and part of me was like, cool. But then I thought about it. I'm like, but wait, not cool, actually. Like, seriously, Booster Gold should just stay where the fuck he is. Like, Blue Beetle's being a bad fucking friend right now. Like, I want them to be friends. I want them to go on an adventure and save the day. But this story's so dark that it's hard for me to, like, root for that shit. Like, stuff that would be fun in other events. I'm like, I don't know that I like this.
Danny M writes, I'm digging Heroes in Crisis, but it's a slow burn. Clayman has freaking beautiful art. Agreed.
Agree with that. But also, the sex appeal of his art, I find distracting.
I think I'm missing
so,
that.
Like,
I mean, it's been a minute since I read it.
I hate the new Batgirl costume design. Sorry, Sean Murphy. What was it?
Blue and yellow.
The Waid is now, like, go back to the one you just did. It wasn't New 52. It was and it was before Rebirth, but like the motorcycle jacket one with the purple, like that was dope. This is trash. Get rid of it. But also I like the confrontation with Harley, but then they embrace, because it's a hall of mirrors. You get Harley's very distinct ass, and then because of one of the mirrors, her ass again in like one of the things, and it's got like the back dimples and shit, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, this comic is so dark and so serious, and everything. Like, there's a shot with Wonder Woman with Superman's shirt all sexy and panties and stuff. Like, what's happening? Like, for the love of God, like in this, like it's good art. It's just really weird in this specific comic.
I guess I wasn't noticing, but I don't disagree, and it sounds like I do vaguely know what you're talking about, but I get it.
Well,
but,
good, because again, it's not that it's bad art. He's tremendously talented. It just feels incongruous with it. And also, I kind of get what Superman's doing.
With revealing it?
Yeah, the way he, like, hey, she just did it. So, like, be a better friend, man. Like, I get you're supporting your wife, and I'm down with that. And I like anytime a comic acknowledges, like, hey, Superman's a reporter and a good one, and not just flying punchy guy. You know what I mean? All on board with that. But I don't know. I like this issue better. I think you're right that it's becoming clearer, the situation.
Happening. Yeah.
But I'm still, like, confused implies that I don't. It's like when I say confused about things in Green Lantern, that means something different than when I'm saying confused here. Like, just tonally, it feels, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel, because again, part of me, when like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle fist bump and they're off, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And then I think about the story I'm reading, I'm like, ew, like that shit emotionally confuses me.
We're getting a lot of comments in the chat saying Clayman's very talented. We also have Supermax saying that they like the Batgirl and Harley team up, and it was a heartwarming moment for both of them. I agree with that. I don't disagree with you that the tone of it's kind of all over the place. Like, there's a moment where I'm like, is this funny? Where it's like, it's Barry and Batman in the field, and they're like, we know who did it, and they say different names, and then he says, damn it, and it's like, this should be dark that you don't know who murdered your son.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, on paper, like, I get it, and it is fun, but then you spend, like, this is a mass shooting, like.
Yeah, and
one of the suspects is Booster Gold of all characters, and so it's hard for me to get excited for him to, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel.
And I don't know, I think it needs to keep, I would understand if people kind of wanted to back off a little bit from this for a little bit, because it's dark, it's depressing.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued enough. Tom King's one of my,
one of your boys,
devotion, so I will keep reading.
And they're both very talented creators.
I don't disagree with you when it comes to the confusion, though, with what you're supposed to feel during this, because it's like, I want to be on board with the mystery of it, but the more we're going to uncover, there's no way that this can go into a positive direction for literally anybody.
Yeah, unless I wonder if it would have benefited, like, being really upfront that, like, hey, by the way, it's not Harley and Booster. So that way you can root for them more. Like, we don't know who it is, but it's definitely not these characters, so don't feel creepy when we give them positive moments.
Yeah, and like you can't even get past the fact that like maybe this didn't happen because it definitely happened. There's an autopsy.
The cover of the issue I have is Harley standing over Wally West, bloody with a bat, and Wally West is dead, and she's like, "Guess he didn't run fast enough." That's fucked up.
Yeah, I'm not really quite sure where we're supposed to go with this because it's supposed to be about trauma and dealing with it.
And it makes Sanctuary look like a bad idea.
Yeah. Maybe it is, but
like there's a moment where Black Canary just walks out and it's like, therapy's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not against it. I don't know how I should feel about it.
Hey, you're not wrong, but I think maybe, all right, if we could have some help on the Discord and the live chat or on Twitter at Only Stupid Answers.
Yeah, you got the
there we go.
I was looking at I was looking at the chat. I'm sorry.
No, but you guys can let us know what you think about it because it would be good to have a conversation about this. I think that's a big part of this is having a conversation about therapy in general and trauma and whatnot. You should have conversations about those things with the people that you trust. And I don't think we've hit that note yet in this book, but I still think let's talk about it and try to figure it out together. But thank you.
I'll come back next week with charts.
There you go.
Just map it out. Yeah.
This is what we think you did it. But I did want to mention really quick. Danny M in the chat says those variant covers of the Polaroids of the traumatic events are my favorite. Those are very interesting. It's like Wonder Woman when she killed Maxwell Lord, Batman back broken, Superman died, Aquaman hand melted off. That one. That was a gruesome photo.
That was after his son was murdered, by the way.
Yeah, was it Aqua Baby?
Yeah, it was murdered by Black Manta. Just FYI.
Yeah, it was a rough go, but hopefully we get rid of that. Let's bring back Aqua Baby.
I wouldn't mind in the movie if they cut off his hand. I could definitely see Jason. Jason Momoa with the hook hand would look rad.
I think we'd have to do it like last movie, like as a last hurrah.
Maybe.
Because it's got to be expensive to do that, and I don't think he'd really be on board with wearing that thing.
Maybe he could get like the Arsenal Young Justice robot arm hand.
There you go, or a yo-yo from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that looks like a glove.
Classic.
Gross.
Looks like a glove with metal hot glued on.
Computer chips. Yeah. That's why it's bionic. Guys, let us know what you thought, and also let us know in the Discord what you're going to be reading next week. Our poll list will be up on our live show.
Yes.
Which you can watch on Patreon. If you're listening to this, you're already there, so you can go watch that on the $15 tier, or you can join us live 3:30 p.m. PST Wednesdays for that show. Super TV Showdown Thursdays 3 p.m. PST as well. We moved it up a little bit so that we can go see our movies that we review for you guys earlier. That's the scheduling's a little rough. They've made it earlier. We gotta accommodate for it.
Exactly.
But gang, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.